This week on New to You, Okay Fine,
Ali.
Part 3, The Americans. Hey everybody, welcome to the third in our Okay Fine, Ali. I took it away from you, Jules. Topic. We are going to get into Adam's pick this week. Previously, we had Jules's pick, the family film Antichrist, is found on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And before that, my pick, the tragic film of buddy cop action, Hot Fuzz. I don't know, that's kind of it. And then so this week, we'll have a TV show. I'm one of your hosts, John Holt. With me is
Keith Allen Vincent,
Julian Cage,
Adam Mater.
All right. So, gang, welcome back, Adam. Not gang, but hey, Adam, welcome back.
Gang
again.
plus Adam, yeah.
Gang plus Adam.
Adam's gang.
We might get some more real corners.
Ooh, yeah, Adam's Real Corner. And
last
that was
week,
a big hit last week. Yeah. As I'm sure you guys saw all over Twitter and stuff.
I think we got a good response from that.
Might be a little spin-off show.
Yeah, let's see.
So let's go right into your pick, Adam. Let's do it.
The greatest threat the United States now faces is the Soviet Union.
Hello?
The Americans have no intelligence.
Undercover agents hiding all over the U.S.
All right, so my pick was the FX show The Americans, starring Kerry Russell and Matthew Rhys. It's an hour-long drama. Basically, it's about two Russian spies who live in America in the early 80s, and they speak with no accent. They speak perfect English. They even have had two children. They're probably in like their early 40s or late 30s. And basically,
who are probably American citizens, their children, right?
Well, technically they would be, yeah, because they're born on American soil.
Anchor babies.
Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly. And they live in Northern Virginia by D.C., and they kind of run all these missions to gather intelligence for the Soviet Union. Yeah, that's kind of the rundown. And basically, the show's also it's a spy show, but it's also very much about like kind of marriage in general relationship and a lot of the times like the missions will kind of have this an interesting foil to like personal problems that their names are Elizabeth and Philip are the two main characters that they are kind of
they're American names.
They're American names, yeah. I forget their Russian names.
Kabyag and Boris.
Yeah, so a lot of times their mission will be like a foil to the like little disputes they'll have because Philip's a little bit more of a softie, and he's the one who's kind of like, what if we just kind of like joined America? Why don't we just like kind of totally integrated ourselves into this? And Kerry Russell's character Elizabeth is like, she will do anything for the mission. She will risk her own life and her family's life for it. She thinks America's Satan.
She's a true believer.
I think she also doesn't trust that they would get away with it. I think she also fears retribution if they defect.
Yeah, but earlier on, it's less of the fear of repercussion and more of the she's
gung ho in the first season. Yeah,
there's also like an interesting like male female dynamic.
Yeah,
and they show that in how the women are treated in America. Like how the husbands and, like how the secretary is treated, that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then also in the way she was treated as an operative versus how he was treated as an operative. Like there's a pretty strong distinction. And I think the nationalism and the few things she has to cling to were beaten into her much more rigorously. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the men in this are the ones who kind of play fast and loose on the Russian side and the American side. And it's the women who suffer in a lot of ways because they're the ones who don't have the privilege to be as casual with their loyalties and their acquaintance. and that's also a big theme, I think, in the thing, and that's why it's important that they have a son and a daughter as kids in the.
And pretty much everyone's, both the American and Russian characters, their allegiances are constantly tested. They all at various points feel like they're just these insignificant cogs in a huge machine. Like all the FBI employees are incredibly frustrated all the time, and are constantly like doing kind of extrajudicial stuff. And also, it's important to point out this is not like just some like pulled out of nowhere. This is a real thing that the Russians were doing, called the Illegals program, that was discovered in about 2010, and the creator of Americans is Joe Weisberg, this writer who used to be a CIA officer and kind of, I don't think he was working exactly with like Russian stuff, but he kind of uses his experience to just how information protocols are handled, how things like dead drops and whatever, how all that works. He used that partially that experience, and again around 2010, this Illegals program was discovered by the FBI, and arrests were made.
Was it only discovered then, or was it only made public then?
Well, that's
knows?
classified information. I can't divulge that, but
Sorry, redact my question.
Yeah, it had been going on since the 80s and 90s, and they just would take the name like Joe Murphy and whatever and live in Hoboken or something. So that kind of inspired it, and Americans debuted in 2013 and is now the 5th season will be out in, I believe, like early spring of 2017, so right around the corner. I don't know if there's an exact date yet, but it's been great. I am early in season 4 and really liking it. I think the show kind of just keeps getting better and better. So like I wouldn't say there's like a huge quality range from season to season, but I think it's funny because like they're always teetering on the edge of like everything falling apart. All the characters really at this point in this series.
It's the height of the Cold War as well.
It's like I think it's 83 or 84 in season 4.
I mean it's almost the end of the Cold War.
But they don't know that. Like to them, it doesn't seem like it's anywhere close to being over.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing they'll maybe start to address in this, because I feel like by like 85, 86 things start to.
Yeah.
What's that? The Orange Revolution or something happens in 86 or 7? I'll look it up.
No, it's the
86 is Chernobyl disaster.
Did that do anything? Oh yeah, not the Orange Revolution. That's the 2004 one.
Perestroika is the word.
Yeah.
That's when there's kind of like an easing up of the norms in the Soviet Union. Yep.
So far in the show universe, none of that has been really alluded to yet, and it's been a really neat show. It took me a while to get around to it. I feel like a lot of TV critics I like to read, especially Emily Nussbaum at The New Yorker. I feel like she's been a really great. I just tend to agree with her a lot and find her recommendations to be really good. She had been writing about it for a while, and it was just one of those shows that in the time when like Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, and Mad Men and everything was on TV, it's just hard to, and Girls, and they're just like there's a lot of good stuff, and it was hard for me to get into it. I have to be honest, I was like Carrie Russell, the girl from Felicity. I was like, ugh, whatever. But she's really good. I mean, the cast is incredible. Matthew Rhys, I have no idea where he came from besides England, but he's amazing.
Dude, he's Welsh. Okay,
well, Welsh,
come on.
Sorry, the UK. But they're amazing. I think it's one thing that also probably took me a while to get into the show. Like when I say it's a spy show, and you all know this because you guys have seen it. Like it's not. It's not like Get Smart or something. There's not there's virtually no. It's incredibly realistic. There's like no stylization. There's no like
neat breaking in.
Okay, they play music from the 80s.
I would say it's not it's not impossible, but it's implausible is what I would say.
It's still very like.
I think it's very realistic.
Well,
it's still very
I disagree with that.
No,
Why do you think
it's not realistic in terms of like it's like taking realistic stuff, but like kind of turning it up to 11. Like it's a little like the kinds of missions they're going on all the time are just like. They're just like intense missions. Whereas I think the real people who were doing this here in America were doing boring stuff.
Or they might have one of those interactions.
Yeah.
Whereas this couple has them like they're basically like we were talking about.
Because they're the best, Holt.
Well,
it's because
they are the best. Yeah.
Well, it's like a composite thing where you have versus one group running one con for the entire run of their thing and maybe pulling information here and there. These guys have 4 or 5 things going at once.
And they're doing so many like physically dangerous things all the time. Whereas I think true spy work is actually quite boring, and it's mostly just. And they do show a lot of that, and it's my favorite part of the show, of where they're basically just seducing people into revealing secrets and that kind of stuff. I think real spy work, and probably what the real life equivalent of these characters were doing, was probably more low key, boring stuff, just getting information.
I mean, there definitely was that like wet work, like assassination kind of stuff. Like where umbrellas with cyanide needles in them and stuff. That was happening, but again, I think it is a little bit more like hyper realized.
Well, I think you also wanted to infiltrate, because I think with the illegals program, it was a lot of like get a professor job at a university and then sort of use that to meet people who are in like computer science or something, or some data, something you'd want to spy on.
Yeah, and try to turn people and that kind of stuff.
Right, have a lot of assets.
Find sympathetics
But yeah, it's interesting because it's like a lot of, and just also thinking about why it took me so long to get around to it. It's not a funny show at all. Like even if you compare it to like Breaking Bad or Sopranos, I mean, I think those shows are legitimately really funny at times. This show has like zero sense of humor, and
there's some dark humor later in the later season. I think. Like
there
by
is, but it's nowhere
4.
near. Like it's so subtle, but it also, I don't fault the show for that, because it's DC. These are like, I mean, it's DC. It's like the corniest people on the planet. They're like they're Boy Scouts. Like they're just grown up Boy Scouts, and like it totally makes sense. Like I really appreciate that. And I just think the writing on an episode, like by episode basis, is incredible. Like they just, it's not like a show like Homeland where there's like a massive climax it's always building towards. I mean, there are certainly good season finales and everything, but it's not like, oh, that's the one where they blew up the Residentura and killed all 20 consulates from Russia. Like stuff like that never happens, and I think it's better for it because you're always really tense.
The stakes are high enough just from the interpersonal.
Enough bad stuff happens to people that you feel the stakes, but it's also just doesn't feel schlocky in like a way that TV dramas can easily get.
Well, I like also that all the things that they would achieve would never be anything we would have heard about. That way, it never breaks out of the kind of
like if they killed Ronald Reagan in an episode, it'd be so crazy and over the top. Like that's what always drives me nuts about shows like Homeland or 24.
Bastards.
Yeah, like shows like 24 or Homeland, where I'm like, you just blew up like in a whole like branch of the government, and now like it's just too nuts.
Well, it's like that movie. Do you remember the one where a Russian washes up on the shore and these kids find him and like take him in? It was like a Cold War movie.
Encino Man?
No, well, it's actually kind of like Encino Man, except he's a Russian. And these kids like live on the coast. And at the end, they kind of get him back on a submarine and he goes home. But
really? No, I don't remember that at all.
Do you remember who's in this movie?
No,
Is this a script you wrote?
Yeah. Be like,
are you pitching us right now?
I found a Russian on Brighton Beach.
Mommy, can we keep the Russian?
A film by John Holt.
John Von Holt.
Here's what I Google: boys find a Russian and hide him movie. Ruskies is the name of it.
Oh, I do.
A group of American boys and a shipwrecked Russian sailor become friends in the midst of the Cold War, 1987.
Time for a reboot.
Yeah. And you guys wanted
with an all-female cast.
Yeah. No. The Rock would have to be in it.
Joaquin
somewhere.
Phoenix is in it.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Peter Billingsley.
Who plays the Russian?
I don't know. Whip Hubley.
Andre the Giant.
Whip Hubley.
What?
Anyway, back to the Americans.
He was known for his work on Top Gun, Coneheads, and The Cinderella Story.
Oh, that's pretty versatile actor. Anywho, so yeah, Americans, I really like it a lot. I sometimes. Sorry, John's showing me some lewd pictures from the internet. Yeah, it's a funny show because I can't tell really how popular it is. It's hard to tell how popular anything is these days, as we're like we're so fractured in how we take in media.
I think the fact that it has 5 seasons means it's probably doing fairly well.
I think it's doing pretty well.
FX does a lot, like takes a lot of risks though, and puts in a lot for its stuff. Like it's still running Louis, and they did Wilfred or Wilson or whatever it was for like 3 or 4 seasons.
Well, Louis is kind of on a standing hiatus though, right?
Really?
Yeah, probably because he's doing those other
shows. It's never been canceled, and he can come back and do another season whenever he wants. But it's It's not.
Yeah, I mean the show gets incredibly good reviews. I'm staring at its Metacritic stats now, or Rotten Tomatoes. I mean it's in the 90s. I mean it's about as high as you can expect most shows to go. It's funny though. I don't think it's won a lot of Emmys.
No, it's. I feel like
it's always nominated. Like the 2 leads and like the writing is always nominated.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's like just below, like in terms of like how good
you know what I mean?
is.
It's like under the surface.
Yes.
Like it'll just be there for years.
Exactly.
You won't even.
It's like
know.
it's undercover.
It's also funny they film a lot of it because like she lives in Carroll Gardens with like the leads got married and have kids now and they live.
What?
Yeah.
In real life?
In real life.
What?
And they live like in Carroll Gardens.
That chemistry is real.
And it's like a lot of the stuff they film is like Prospect Park. And around New York. So like I'm like, oh,
dude, that's real corner right there.
That's not DC.
John's real corner.
I watched Gary Russell and her children.
I was behind a bush with my binoculars.
I call it Americans behind the scenes.
When I see them going by, I say, next week on The Americans.
Mrs. Russell takes a shower.
The following show may not be appropriate for children on young ages.
I think Carrie Russell was also in Honey, I Blew Up the Kids. Was she not the babysitter in that movie?
You might be.
I'm
right.
looking it up. You guys talk amongst
look it up.
yourselves.
Look it up. We're going to talk
yourselves.
a little bit about more on topic stuff.
So Jules kind of mentioned this last time, the kind of go back and watch the pilot thing. You know, again, I'm caught up on The Americans. Me and Mary have been watching it pretty regularly. Like we'll get the season pass when 5 comes out. And going back and watching the pilot for this episode really I was like, oh wow, there's a lot in the pilot.
Yeah, it's a solid
It has
pilot.
to establish a lot of stuff a
lot of the themes they're still struggling with later, and they aren't tired at all. Like it's very
psychologically rich show because it's like it really delves into the whole. Just with any relationship, you're like weirdly playing a role. I don't want to play armchair psychiatrist or whatever, but like it really explores how you're constantly being like, how committed and into the role is this person? How much are they just going through the motions? Which in the pilot's immediately a question. It's like these two people don't. That's a big thing I think in the pilot is she says her real name right at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
She reveals what her real because they're not allowed to speak Russian when they're in America. They're not allowed to talk about their backstories. They were just set up when they were like 18, I think.
Yeah.
And so it's this big thing of like, do you actually love me? We've gone through all the motions and we have a family and we appear like a very happy couple to everybody else. And it's just like a total like mind fuck, I think.
And some of it's just seeds too. Like the first, they kind of do this one scene. They flash back to 1965 and they show the two of them. Basically, it's their first night in America as a married couple. And they're in this hotel room and they're like, oh, they haven't quite got the language down yet. So she's like, oh, she doesn't say temperature or the humidity. She says the atmosphere or something something kind of weird. And he turns on the air conditioner and he's like, oh, air conditioning. Whoa. So they're like, wow, it's cold. What is this? So it's sort of like there's already hints that there's a seduction to the materialism and the wealth of the United States.
So that's also the pilot, I believe, is when he goes to see the school presentation thing with Henry,
the astronaut.
and they show the astronaut, and you can see Philip just like being like, yeah, this country is kind of alluring, and like it would be just easy to just live here,
Right.
But
they also set up Martha in that first episode. That there's just a lot of stuff.
And Nina, right? Probably.
No,
Nina's a little bit later.
They actually don't go to I don't think they show the Politburo or whatever it is,
the Residentura,
until and maybe this next episode. But they kind of stick to the FBI and their homestead. They show like one of the drop houses,
and they show Beeman, right?
Yep, they show Beeman.
Right, because he sneaks into their garage in the end of the pilot episode.
That scene is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil that bit, but that just like that, the tone of that is so good, and the sort of surprise there is really nice.
Yeah, it's just really, really well done, and it's funny. I can't tell if it's one of those shows too where once you get like 3 seasons or so under your belt, you're not the new trendy thing anymore. Like you only have that like first or second season moment to be the thing that's all of a sudden appears in like 10 magazines at once. And it's kind of a shame because I think it keeps. I mean, I know Emily Nussbaum's written about it in the New Yorker multiple times because I think season 4 apparently was considered critically like the best. Like it just keeps getting better. Oh, wow. So I think she wrote about it again to be like, it's just like stay keep your attention on this.
Don't sleep on it.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny, and I think about it a lot. I think a lot of TV, as more and more shows are made, I feel like, in a good way, shows are feel very aimed at particular demographics or types of experiences, and it's great. You have Transparent, you have like Master of None, you have shows that are about ethnicity, gender, types of classes of people, ages. Like there are shows now with like old people as like the leads or older people, and Americans is funny because it's like doesn't slot into anything. It's kind of about relationships. It's like sort of historical. It's not really about anything. It's like a hot.
It's also a spy show. Like there is that spy stuff and tension and
right, but that feels like a throwback. You know what I mean? Like that feels like an antiquated genre show. Even though it's not a spy show, it's not Bond or Get Smart or whatever.
No. But I still enjoy like those aspects.
Oh, totally. Yeah. But I think like that. Not that it hurts it. It just. It's hard to like.
It's not the main thrust.
It's hard to tie it into something in the zeitgeist right now.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
it's not.
What
it's not
what
that
it
at all.
is doing is sort of criticizing. It's criticizing nationalism.
Oh, totally.
In a big way, in any direction, like being too pro-America or too pro-Russia, or like and how much you're beholden to your country, and that's something that I mean, right now is a big thing. Like are we going to be big nationalists? And how much do you like that's something that I think that they're kind of almost like sci-fi would. They're using this weird lens
subversive
to show to make you look at things from different angles and question them, and at the same time like say, hey, we're not saying everything's bad, and we're not saying that they aren't saying the Russians kind of come to the idea. A lot of them are saying like, we don't have it great. There are good things here, but at the same time, not everything is great in the U.S. And so there's a lot of like questions that get raised, and you're watching the characters work through them, and that can help you kind of work through them without like it. That's actually one of the more like pure question marks, because there are things where you're looking at the characters' perspectives for a lot of things, but that's one where it's laid out with less of a point of view. I think you see the character's point of view and you understand those characters, but it's sort of cracked open without commentary at times to show you like this is happening or happened, and is still kind of there. There's still a shadow of it.
Sure. And it's it's worth mentioning. I do really like the show. It is not the most flashy, exciting show. Like I'll be the first to admit, it's a slow like. Introspective like type of thing. I mean, there are obviously like action sequences with like martial arts and everything, but
the crazy part is that's what I love about the show.
And, yeah, totally.
And I wish, like, I often find myself wishing there was less of the flashy stuff, because that would kind of take me out of it, or I found that less believable.
It's kind of like a Le Carre thriller, like like more of like a British. Spy drama.
Yeah,
like The Night Manager would be like a parallel that I would.
Except a lot more.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Exactly,
except more emotional and more interpersonal stuff.
Yeah, I mean, The Night Manager has a lot of emotional.
I haven't seen that.
That's one where I mean, it's the whole drive for him and whether or not he'll stay on. It's really good. Night Manager. I'll throw that out there. Hugh Laurie plays a international arms dealer, and I forget the dude's name. He's Guy McGuy. Loki.
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston plays a night manager.
Tommy Hiddles.
He plays a night manager in Cairo or something in Egypt, and it's the Arab Spring, and this woman who he sort of has like a seduction with, an affair with, ends up getting killed. He's trying to save her from this inevitability, but she ends up getting killed, and it's kind of ties back to this arms dealer. Who's supplying the anti-protesters with weapons or whatever. So, and that's played by Hugh Laurie. And so he has this passion, this reason why he, wants to be a spy. He has something he hates. He has something to work against, and that's what gets leveraged for him. But then Hugh Laurie's character has a whole history and story and has a gravity And so there's when the two come together, there's just a lot of tension and a lot of emotional play, and it's very much mirrors. It's a mini series, but it mirrors a lot of the themes of like being undercover and taking on identity, and when your identity is subverted, or when you're like when you become
false identity.
Like you stare into the abyss long enough, that sort of thing. Like, or when do you turn the corner and you yourself, like if you committed enough murders.
So getting back to Tears in Heaven, there's a movie called Rush that deals with these same issues, except it's undercover cops. And the song Tears in Heaven, the video, was from that movie.
What?
With Jason Patric and Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Oh, that song just gets worse and worse. The more facts I learn about it.
And to get back to Keith's for real corner for a second.
Keith's for real corner.
Let me get for real with y'all. My ex-girlfriend used to work at this restaurant in Brooklyn. It's a really small little French restaurant. And she served both Jennifer Jason Leigh and Carrie Russell on different situations. So it's just bringing it all together.
Did we ever find out if Carrie Russell was in that film?
Yes, she is. She's the babysitter /
Honey, I Blew Up the Kid?
Yep, / romantic interest in Honey, I Blew Up the Kid.
Rick Moranis' romantic interest?
No, his son, who's
forbidden love.
I'm going to blow up the boy to kill my
name
wife.
Is something Oliveri.
Oh man, yeah, I do.
So,
Jason Oliveri, friend of the podcast.
His cousin, Jason
Really?
Oliveri's cousin.
Oh man, I do remember this. So Rick Moranis' got like glasses steam up when he sees her or something. Is that what happened?
I don't remember that part. But
I'm going to blow up my child.
Zoinks! I guess I should blow up my kid.
And then when the babysitter comes to deal with the child,
no, to get
no
back
one
to
will
the
look
Americans,
and I will
though.
kill my wife.
To get back to the Americans, though, what?
Honey, I killed you.
How does it?
I buried you in the backyard.
How does it like maintain this level of pressure throughout?
How
seasons?
far have you seen America?
I've seen like I saw the pilot and two other the next two episodes.
Oh, of season 2.
No.
Oh, you've seen the first 3 episodes of the show.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, it just.
Do they just find new?
I don't
want
to spoil too. I don't want to spoil too much. Spoil too much.
It's a spy spoiler.
Well,
it's a spy.
Basically, there'll always be a character here and there who's maybe onto them,
getting closer.
Yeah, and that's a threat. Another thing that they allude to kind of early in the series is that eventually
their relationship itself, maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, also, like what the fate of their children will be. Like
exactly. Yeah.
Like because the fate of the family is more important. More importantly, the fate of the children.
But do you think it's successful at dialing it up when it needs to? Like this. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched. It was nice going back and watching the pilot. Like it just was even better than I remembered. But I watched the first 2 seasons, I think, and I started, and I kind of stopped after that. I think it was starting. I was starting to get tiresome to me at that point. I don't know why exactly. But.
It might be a show that's not good for binging. If it's I find that these really tense shows. I can only get them at like 2 at a clip.
That may have been the case. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
it was kind of exhausting
because it's not like Mad Men or Breaking Bad where it's like, oh, that's the season where they move to the new office, or that's the season where Walter kills Pollos Hermanos guy or whatever. Like,
yeah, no, it's more
there
of
aren't
the
these
same.
like huge things. Yeah, it's very similar. I will say season 2 does a good job because you see an undercover family just killed.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh my god, like we are like they just have to come to terms with how dangerous their jobs are, and they start getting actually frustrated with their handler, and they start to really feel like a way anyone who hates their job feels.
Disgruntled employees.
Yeah, like they become like disgruntled employees, and rightfully so, because they're like, we could be murdered.
Right.
And then
especially when one of them is like, yeah, but we could always just quit and become Americans.
Right, totally.
And there's also little plots. Like again, the tough thing is it's almost like, all right, Mission Impossible. Every episode was, if you choose to accept this mission, then blah, blah, blah. Kind of, often some of their missions will take a couple episodes to resolve, but often enough it'll be like, you've resolved this stuff, or like you've kind of gotten out of this stuff. Oh, hey. And there's a bunch of threads going on at all times. Like there's constant missions that they're running. Oh, hey, the big bosses have a new mission that you have to do. It's super important. Mm-hmm. And now it can compound all their issues and create new problems. And like a very simple one that doesn't really spoil anything. In the pilot, they show Philip being very protective to his daughter. There's a dude who like pervs on her. She's only 13, and he then goes and like beats the shit out of this guy and almost kills him.
He uses Russian kung fu.
Like messes him up.
Grill combat. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to spoil anything.
But he also hits him in the monkey with a fork. He stabs him in the monkey. So there's a whole thread. I don't know if it's season 3 or 4, but where they're given a job to go infiltrate this CIA guy or some guy's like thing and get information, and it requires putting a tape in somewhere in his thing and
in his little carrier bag, his messenger bag,
and consistently going in and taking out the tape and putting in a fresh tape. And the in is a young girl. And so Philip has to go effectively seduce a young girl, like who's like 15 or 16, and
he's got to creep on her
to get access to her father.
And what's really messed up.
Now we're talking.
What's really oh God, is that Keith's for real corner? What's really messed up too is while this is happening, season 3 is when Paige, the oldest child, their daughter, starts really becoming politically active and active in the church, both of which like drive the parents nuts. And in this really screwed up way, like as Philip is neglecting his own daughter because they're on missions increasingly, he's now connecting with this 16-year-old daughter of the CIA guy who she's disillusioned because her parents are never home. She's always in this big empty house by herself. She's like smoking weed, listening to Yaz and other like sad synth pop stuff. And like weirdly, Philip becomes like uses tips or things he learns from her to then be like cool with Paige. Like he buys her a Yaz record, and Paige is like, "How'd you know about this, Dad?" And he's just like, I'm a cool dad. I don't know. I didn't sleep with any 16-year-olds or anything.
Wait, does he actually sleep with her?
I'm not. Well, you gotta watch it.
You gotta watch to find out.
An extra sexy American.
Because I remember. I think I must have quit partway through season 3 because
you were so disgusted.
No. I didn't get. It didn't get to that storyline, but I remembered some of the others.
Yeah,
he hits her in the log with a monkey.
I don't even know what's body parts and what's a weapon anymore. There's great stuff. There are tons of like kind of one-off-y episodes where like one they work with a anti-apartheid radical who he will just like mercilessly torture people and kill them, and that kind of takes Philip and Elizabeth are kind of like, okay, like what's the rules of war here, because they ideally don't want to like horribly torture anybody or like, but there's tons of stuff where like they accidentally kill somebody who's important, like say maybe an FBI officer. They blah blah blah. They try to flip people and they turn out to be kind of like stupid, and then that flipped person bungles a mission and ends up dead or ends up killing someone else or whatever.
Becomes a liability.
Yeah. So, and they're always feeling just increasingly guilty about this stuff because it all starts to just feel meaningless because, and you think about the Cold War, which is this giant meaningless thing. Like neither side is ever really making, like there's no front that you're like, oh look, we pushed them back or whatever today. It's like so vague.
Well, it's also too like they're on the front lines of this Cold War, being given orders when it's clear that it's that classic like the generals don't actually understand what's going on the ground.
Yeah.
So they're just being given orders and told that consequences will be,
dire.
That will never be the same.
Yeah, and they're also really excited because as their children, Paige and Henry, get older, they're like, this would be incredible to have agents who are born in America, have American citizenship, and they'll be working for us. And Philip and Elizabeth are like, well, they think they're Americans. To tell somebody that at age like 16 or 17 or 18 would be, you're really risky. Like you're really, like they're probably going to freak out.
And in the pilot, they're like, the children will never know. The children will never know. And so, again, it's another seed that they're planting. Like when someone puts their foot down in the pilot, that's going to be tested in the series.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is the fact that the kids don't have no idea becomes more and more implausible as the show goes on.
But then I don't know how far you got.
I mean,
He didn't get to the part with the young daughter being seduced, so
Right.
use that as a frame of
But
reference.
I do know that like there was at one point the daughter was getting suspicious, but it was like I don't know.
Yeah, but
Well,
it's
I
also
will
that
go ahead.
80s neglected kids kind of thing, like your
Yeah.
baby boomer
Latchkey.
parents.
Yeah, both
latchkey
parents are working.
kids,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Both parents are working, and
Goonies.
but she thought they were having an affair.
Yeah.
Right. And the younger brother just like goes and hangs out with the neighbor and plays video games all day.
Yeah.
Like he just
And honestly, as a person from that who grew up in that era, I know nothing about my father. Like so little, it's crazy. Like I knew where he went to work, and
Yeah.
that's it. You know.
But the thing is, they're
I
like,
still don't know much about the guy.
but they're very attentive parents. You know what I mean? Like, and they seem involved in their lives. Like sometimes, and then they just vanish for a while. Like that's
Yeah.
the part where I'm like, well, it seems weird. You know, like if they were bad parents, or if they were like kind of neglectful parents, and the kids are just used to that, like that would be different.
I mean, I think the other aspect of the show, and they actually kind of deal with this at times, is they are cutting to the action a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they aren't always.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I mean, you don't
running.
show the scenes where they just have dinner and talk about your day at school.
Right.
Like,
That's
And-
true.
yeah.
But
And so-
I guess maybe like if they showed
And they're
that,
watching Barney Miller
Yeah.
on TV.
it would be nice if they showed that
Hee-haw.
a bit more every now and then.
I,
just
I
to
would say the
remind you.
one like key element of the show that I do think is a little what's the word? Kind of cute or pert is that Stan lives across the street from them.
Yes.
Stan Beeman, the FBI agent who
Well, like literally next door, right? It's like,
literally across the street and is very friendly with Philip for most of the series so far.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time,
Yeah, they're in Alexandria, and it's like someone's going to work for the FBI.
and
who lives
that's
there.
actually kind
Or
of one of
Falls
the
Church or
throwaway
something.
lines in the
Right,
pilot
they're
is
like, "Can you believe-"
Is this a setup? Are they onto us? And it's like it's DC. Like
Yeah.
they got to live somewhere.
That's fair. I think it's Falls Church, or supposed to be the town it's in, or either that or Alexandria. But yeah,
it's still pretty cute that they're literally next door, and that it's not just any FBI agent. You know what I mean?
No, it's like super FBI
Stan
agent.
Beeman.
Yeah, undercover white nationalist.
And I will say too, to flip it, Stan Beeman, I don't even know if you'd call him an antagonist. I mean, he is in that he's against the protagonist, but he's in a really interesting story too, because he's like he had been away for several years, undercover in a white supremacist group, like a KKK or something type scenario.
Yeah.
And he's totally alienated from his family because his son is now like a 16-year-old or whatever, and he kind of missed out on some really formative years, and he's also just like damaged dude from having to pretend to be a white supremacist, which is like incredibly upsetting.
You could make a whole show out of that. That's pretty cool.
That's true. Yeah.
Sons of Anarchy.
Duck Dynasty.
Yeah. The Trump campaign, 2015 to 16.
So when the daughter becomes, when the American's daughter becomes political, does she become like a young Republican? What is
No. She's like a bleeding liberal, you know,
Like an anti-nuke Christian church.
anti-nuke, anti-apartheid. Yeah, the whole kit and caboodle.
We are the world.
Yeah, and then she also becomes Christian, which is great. I love all those scenes, and there's even some great threads with Stan's ex-wife when she leaves him eventually. Sorry, spoiler. Whatever. Who cares? His ex-wife joins Est, which is like really big then, and you kind of get a glimpse into that whole weird world. And like,
What is Est?
Est is like Landmark Forum now. It's sort of like
enlighten us.
It's sort of like
That's what Est is for.
Yeah.
Personal enlightenment.
I can't enlighten you myself, but come to the sessions.
You'll
No,
find it
Convince
within
3 of your
yourself.
friends to come.
yeah, it's sort of like I don't want to compare it to Scientology because it's nowhere near as elaborate and historied and crazy. But it's basically these like big therapy groups.
It's like pop psychology kind of
yeah,
stuff.
kind of pop psychology. Like I get why it was popular and continues to be because a lot of there's just a stigma probably on real getting an actual psychiatrist, and it's very empowering. Like think like without the misogyny, like Tom Cruise's character in Magnolia.
Yeah.
Where it's just like you need or Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing where it's
Take
like
control of your life.
take control. You're pushing things down. You got to open up. It's like not necessarily evil, but it's that sort of thing, and at the time especially, it's very brand new. And anyways, Stan kind of gets roped into it because his ex-wife's like, I think you should try it, and then she meets a guy in it and leaves him, and then Philip kind of gets lured in because Philip realizes it's his chance to talk about his incredibly messed up childhood, and
in like a roundabout way.
Yeah, he can say like, right, he's haunted by like he killed a bully when he was young, when he's like 10 years old.
Beat him with a rock.
Yeah, brained him, and so he uses it too as like a release, and that seems very safe because you're somewhat anonymous, and yeah, it's just really interesting. It's a good like portrait of the time because I feel like. Especially when you watch older movies, and especially Mad Men, you forget how weirdly good we are at talking about our feelings. That sounds stupid, but like we are way more open and communicative about it than like Don Draper used to sort of drive me nuts. Why he was always brooding, but you're like, of course he is. Like a man his age, or a man born when he was born, would not be like, Roger, I'm feeling marginalized, and I think that I'm emasculated at home, and I have this like dying urge. Like he would never. No one at that time would probably do that. So it's always it's kind of cool. It feels like psychologically real for the time period in that way too. Like they're always freaked out by like goths and like new wave stuff, and on that note too, their costumes are incredible because they're constantly in disguise.
Yeah.
And Philip,
I love that stuff.
Philip has some really funny ones. Where it's like Mr. Show sometimes, where like Philip comes out and you're like, oh my god, who is this character? Who is this like weirdo, like REO Speedwagon drifter?
Fuck girls, I'll stab you in the heart.
That's my other favorite part of the show is like all these characters they have to play, and also like they have these long-term relationships. With
I mean, Martha's the most.
Like he literally has a parallel like relationship and marriage with this.
And then
with this woman that he's extracting.
And then
information
Sam Beeman has one with Nina, and
it's
messed up.
But
it's pretty rad.
Good stuff.
I don't know, that kind of was into it.
Yeah.
But you were saying there's not much of a sense of humor, but it seems to me like that might be where they get some of the sense of humor is when they get to counterbalance really tense thing with some kind of funny,
but it's
80s,
usually very dark,
like a Duran Duran
irony,
song. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just not.
He's like rocking a members only jacket, but
you're not going to get. I mean, Sopranos, I think, is a very funny show for as dramatic as it is, but you're not going to get like the lawnmower foot scene from Mad Men. Like, it doesn't go for any sort of like Lynchian weird or. Obviously not a lot of setup punchline. Like, so a lot, like Philip's a really corny guy and makes like dad jokes and stuff. Mm-hmm. And Elizabeth is utterly humorless. Like, she is just so like such like a militarized person.
Yeah. Singular.
But, a lot of the humor, I mean, it's like funny, but a lot of like the oh man kind of stuff is just this. It's Schadenfreude, like them stepping out of the frying pan into the fire. And then out of the fire into the gas explosion. Like, it's just that, like, how can it get worse? And so that kind of, like, that absurdism can become funny. And that, it's not always, like, absurd, but it's like
Yeah, like, there's this, for lack of a better term, like, this ditzy blonde woman who Philip seduces as part of a mission. And then she's, like... He lies and says he's like a Swedish spy or something, and
Swiss or something,
yeah, and she's like, "Oh, I want to be that too." And so then he's turning her to be a Russian spy, but he's telling her it's for Sweden, and he's like, "I really don't know if we should use her, but she's married to someone important."
Yeah,
and let's just say it doesn't go great, but he starts using her in the field, and it's like she's so oblivious, and like it's pretty funny. I mean, it reminds me of Sopranos when they were trying to flip Adriana, and Adriana would be so dumb and think that the FBI woman actually wants to be her friend. It's like, no, like, I am working you. You are, like, we can put you in jail if we need to. So yeah, I don't mean to say it's humorless in a bad way. I think it's it's the right tone.
It's very wry and dry.
Yeah, totally.
That's kind of where it comes.
Mm-hmm. And not a lot of artsy, like, not a ton of like wacky dream sequences or anything. I mean, they're flashbacks and stuff, which you pretty much need to get their like Russian past across. But
because they ain't gonna talk about it.
No, nope.
Gotta flash that shit back.
Yeah. It's also, it's the 80s. It's the Cold War. We're pretty we were kids, and then our parents maybe are a little more connected, but it's a nostalgia factor too, and it's fun to like watch like the 80s play out. The kid gets better video games, gets his Atari, gets his Nintendo,
some great sweaters and stuff.
But the 80s-ness of it is also like not too overstated.
It's not Stranger Things where it's just like,
or
how can we cram
hits you over the head?
10
or
things
even
Halt
and Catch Fire. Halt and Catch Fire is like very like stereotypically 80s, like a little over the top with it, where it doesn't. Whereas here it just feels normal.
It's like they're of the time.
Yeah.
Cool. So where can people watch?
They can watch it on Amazon. If you have Prime membership, it's free. If you have the FX app or have cable, you can stream it on FX. I would get moving on that because season 5's coming soon, and I bet it's gonna be really good.
Yeah.
It may or may not be the final season. I don't know.
Yeah,
What year are they up to in the timeline of the show?
I want to say 84, but I don't know.
84 is when Est closed.
If they had a Nintendo though, it would have been 85, right?
Maybe
I don't think he has a Nintendo.
Oh, okay.
It might be like Atari.
He has one of those. Remember those like handheld football games?
Yep.
He plays that a
Tiger
ton.
Electronic games.
In season 3, he's playing it like constantly. And I had one of those. It was so crappy. Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I used to play it in like 1989 or something, even though I had Nintendo. I don't know why.
Yeah, we would find them like in my cousin's drawer and be like, "This is awesome."
Right.
And it's like, no, you have Duck Hunt and you're playing this. Well,
especially
thing.
if you had like Tecmo Bowl, which is a very good game.
Yes,
and
still holds up.
Yeah, and it's like a fully realized version of the handheld game. Like it's the same mechanics and stuff. Yeah. Like, why would you ever play? And it has, like, real players and everything. Yeah. Not dots, not the red dot.
Tecmo Bowl's really having a moment right now. It's in, like, 2 big commercial campaigns right now.
That was when emulators were coming out for computers. That was a game I would play a ton.
Tecmo.
Yeah, even in college and stuff.
Is that on there's, like, an NES thing that just came out for Christmas?
I'm sure it's on there.
It's like there's, like, 30 games built in on this little NES Classic or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Is it only 30? I think it's more than that. But anyway, that's a discussion for another day.
So, any last thoughts on Americans, Keith? Do you think you'd watch the rest of the series?
Yeah. I mean, it's not one that's like next in line for me, but yeah, and I'll have the
it'll be an okay finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might catch up now and finish it off.
Yeah.
But maybe not. I don't know.
I will say I've liked every season more than the previous, and I liked season 1, but I definitely think season 1 and 2 start a little slow, almost like the way The Wire used to each season, because they had to set up stuff. But I just remember the final couple episodes for every season are really, really good. So yeah, stick with it.
One last thing, really good intro.
Mm-hmm.
I like the design. I like the music,
and it gives you backstory and
they have good cold opens too. Which I
do they show
appreciate.
that? Is that the same opener all through the whole?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a game called Tetris. Elizabeth, you got to make a block. Get my Tetris.
Wait for the long blue one.
Your mission is to get the crooked block into square block.
Do it for the motherland.
It's a game called Tetris. It's a game called Tetris.
Yeah. All right.
Now that we've offended the great nation of Russia,
they'll come for us next.
Oh, now they're really mad at us.
No, they love us now.
So the Americans.
I hope the NSA isn't listening.
Of course they are. All right, Americans.
Yep.
Thanks for the pick, Murder.
Yes.
Good
Thank
call.
you guys. Thanks for watching and thinking about it.
All right.
possible answers such as hard work.
Years ago, the holies were good.
Feel I'm alone in this whole of existence. I know it takes.
Hey everybody, thank you for listening to third in our topic of OK Fine.
Oli.
All right, so I was one of your hosts, Sean Holtz. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho. Keith, where can people find you?
You can find me at earthlingkeith.com. Hopefully my new website is up by the time this is going.
And you can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Beautiful Jules. How about you, Adam?
You can find me on my personal website, www.adammater.com.
All right, so before we wrap things up, Jules, what's new
coming
to
down
you
the
this
pike?
week?
So new to me, it's not super new. It's new to me, but it's not super new. I'm kind of getting around to this. It's O.J. Simpson Made in America. There was an ESPN 5 or 6 part documentary, and it just goes really deep on the O.J. Simpson case, and not just the case itself, but kind of it spends a lot of time establishing his full history and the social context around the case, and it's still super fascinating. And I grew up, like around the case. I was like in high school while it was happening, but I didn't pay like close attention to it necessarily. It was just something that was always on and around it. It was just so dragged out. So it's nice to get this like clean, like condensed look at it, but also like just again with a lot of context to where you really understand all the forces at play, and the whole thing makes a lot more sense to me now, and it's super well put together. And now I'm also curious. I haven't seen the
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah, because there was also a dramatized version.
American Crime Story by Murphy. What's his first name?
Brown.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so.
Murphy Brown is OJ?
No, you can't say that. I don't know why you can't say that.
So,
don't desecrate the holy OJ Simpson.
Anyways, there's also a fictionalized series.
Which is fantastic, and I highly recommend it.
Okay, so I will...
The TV show
yes.
you liked?
I thought it'd be so dumb. I was like, why are they making this? And it is shot... It's it's a guy who did American Horror Stories. His name might not even be Murphy. I don't know.
American History X or American Horror Stories?
American Horror Story.
Both the documentary series...
Ryan Murphy. Thank you.
Both the documentary series...
Thanks, Wikipedia.
Both the documentary and the fictionalized version were both like very critically acclaimed, and a lot of good buzz on them. So who knows? Maybe after the doc, I'll watch that too. Because the fictionalized show can give you a lot of stuff that obviously they can't do with the documentary, which is a lot of the
behind the scenes,
the personalities.
Exactly.
And
it just has
stuff.
really great writing and performances, and it breezes through things really quickly. I mean, I've actually not seen much of American Horror Story, but he has that very like fast-paced, almost Soderbergh style storytelling where it's like scenes are super short. Yep. They end really quickly, abruptly, and
so also,
it's great. Yeah.
Also the opposite of the documentary.
Yes, documentary. I'm on like part 1. Yeah. It's so long.
Yeah, it like each episode is like an hour and a half, and it takes some commitment, and it's not like riveting all the way through, but it's definitely the deeper you go, the more like fascinated you are about it.
And it pays off.
Yeah.
Like it really dives deep, and once you get to the end, you're fully informed.
Yeah.
You have a nice round picture of how, why, and where this all came from. And and I would imagine that paired with the dramatization, like it's that's the book written on that whole saga.
And it's at first I was kind of like, well, why are they dredging this up? Why are they bringing this back? Hasn't this been exhausted? But I feel like the timing's right, and you realize how relevant and how important the story is.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It feels like a point at which the news media realized it could become like a huge industry, which now seems quaint to us because we live in the age of like MSNBC and CNN and Fox, but among others. But they're like, holy shit, like we could do 24/7 news, which was not a thing in like 93 and earlier necessarily. It wasn't as successful a format.
Yeah, and it was the first big case, one of the first big cases where just everyone was glued to the TV.
Yeah,
and every little detail.
It was sort of like, it went like Menendez trial.
Yeah.
Then OJ.
Lorena Bobbitt.
Yeah, Lorena Bobbitt. But like the Menendez were kind of like your cameras in the courtroom for their first trial.
Yeah.
It was really big, covered consistently and constantly. And then OJ was just like that.
And Timothy
times
McVeigh.
10.
And like, yeah.
Well, there was the in between those though there was the Mike Tyson rape trial.
Well, the
and
Iraq
was
War
also
was also like televised a lot,
that's
which
true.
was really crazy and weird. It was like,
Yeah.
oh wow,
the
you
embedded,
can watch
the
them.
embedded stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, you can actually like watch the
Right.
war from your couch.
And then I think what you had, did we talk about this? I feel like I've talked about this recently, but that you had your like C-SPAN Plus, which was like CNN kind of thing, like that had kind of grown up out of that
Right.
court news kind of stuff. And then like 9/11 was just like light. There's like a match to Tinder, and
Yeah.
it just blew up, and then all these different fledgling
Fox News
cable
and,
networks
yeah.
just became these. That's where the
Well,
conflagration of 24-hour news.
By that time, before 9/11, Fox News already existed. I'm fairly
But was
certain.
it? But I don't know if it was like a
headline
24-hour
headline news and CNN. All three of those existed at that point.
I think it just boosted their ratings.
Yeah,
Right.
It just made them like play in every airport.
And then you had 3 or 4 more on top of that, like
Yeah.
blow out for each one of them.
MSNBC and yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. So that was my new to me.
nice. And where can people watch that?
It's on.
It's got to be on
I think-
Netflix.
No, it's not Netflix.
It's an ESPN.
Even if
I think
if
it
you
might
have
be on.
ESPN
I think
app.
it's on Hulu right now. I think
It's on Hulu.
If you're
Oh,
a Hulu-
really?
yeah.
All the ESPN docs, like the 30 for 30s, are on Netflix.
Netflix.
I'm surprised it's not on.
Well, I
there.
think it's because it's so new.
Yeah,
Because they
Yeah,
take a
it's
while to
still
get
new,
on.
yeah.
So it's on
I
Hulu
think-
It's new
right now.
to all of us.
I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I was watching it on Hulu.
Yeah, we may have purchased it on iTunes.
Yeah,
because
it's definitely
when we
available.
It came out. We got onto it
I
pretty soon.
I
after
watched
it
on the
came
ESPN app, which is frustrating because you can't save the spot you stopped watching it at, and it's so long.
Yeah, you need that.
Which is why that's honestly the main reason I haven't been watching it.
Well, I had a different problem where like my girlfriend and I were watching it, but at separately, and so like the time places would get moved around. I'd be like, no, wait, that's not where I was.
All right. So next week we're going to continue our topic with the fourth and
Well, it's
final
a big season finale, right?
Yeah, of OK. Well, it's not the season finale. It's the
season final.
Season
okay,
3.
finally.
Wait,
Season 3 finale, right?
Well, it's the
theme finale.
Theme finale.
Let's call it a theme finale. Sorry.
Yeah.
The
Sorry,
topic, the
your
fi-
show's been canceled. I hate for you to find out like this.
Oh no!
On air.
But Keith, you're going
How's
to
it
be
feel,
bringing
Zach
us a pick
Galifianakis?
in the OK Fine.
Okay,
Ali.
fine, Ali. I am talking about the band The National, who I love very much, but for some reason was very reluctant to get into at first. So tune in next week.
All right,
and
the
find out-
National. Where can people listen to that?
Are there like specific albums you might be discussing, or just everything?
I would say everything, because everything they do so far has been really top notch. But the 3 albums that I think are the real ones to look out for is a record in 2005 called Alligator, a record in 2007 called Boxer, and their record called High Violet that came out in 2010.
I think you can just listen to Boxer if you want just one.
Yeah,
I would say Boxer.
listen to the chopped.
High Violet is the
Listen
first
to the
one, is my
chopped up
introduction.
face one. That's the album that. There's an album.
Oh, Trouble Will Find Me. Yeah,
there's an album with a chopped up face.
No, it's not. It's a neat photograph.
There's
of a
no
mirror.
name. It's just called chopped up face.
Yeah, it's called
chopped up.
Got a
face.
chopped up face.
Trouble Will Find Me.
Welcome to the nation of the chopped up faces with the national chopped up face. So
I hope you like a chopped up face.
So next week, tune in for the National. Get your listen on before then on Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. Probably some YouTube listening if you're into that.
Oh, plenty. In fact, YouTube plays in dramatically into my story of the National.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So we are also on YouTube. We're also on our own
Pornhub.
website, newtoyoushow.com. We're also on Twitter at newtoyoushow. And you can follow us on iTunes or most podcast portals. So any place that you get podcasts, you can usually find The New to You Show. You should subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. And, reach out, leave a review or comment, or, reach out to us on the website.
Or a special request.
Yeah, and maybe we'll talk about it.
Oh, if you leave a special request, we'll definitely talk about it.
Yeah, definitely within the year. Sometime soon. We'll get to everything eventually.
Heck yeah, we always do.
You'll have to keep listening until we get to it.
Yeah.
So that's your
because we're going to keep on recording.
There's always something new under the sun.
That's right.
All right. Okay. Fine. Ali. It may not be new.
Finally.
But maybe it's new to you.
Explosion sound.
And I'm not a human kickstand, needing time to rest, but I gotta keep moving. This pitiful life is all about the music. 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 This pitiful life is all about the music.
With him together forever, without the limitation of time ever again. So the second coming of the Lord is not dead. They're two separate